Now, in the papers, we see lots of headlines about disgruntled clients, disgruntled customers, the challenges of recession where we're finding it difficult to find business for some organizations and some companies. But what is it that clients really want from a company, from a product, from a service? So today we're going to kind of dive into that and look at what is really an amazing client experience. Now, we all know that it takes time to build trust and rapport. Many positive experiences for us to hang in and to stick to that relationship long term. Not too many people will give you their full trust and from day one, and you have to be able to build that. But it only needs one bad experience for people to leave you. And we've got people here from hospitality, we've got here from coaching, we've got people who work in learning development as well. So we've got a range of different people, and you'll know those times where things didn't quite go right. And unfortunately, as much as you try, you can't get that client back. So what I want you to do in the chat here, and we've got a smaller group, so I'm going to need everyone to get involved and interact. I'd love you to pop into the chat first. What are some examples of bad client experiences you've had as from a client perspective? You're the client. What are some bad experiences you've had? Please, you don't need to name the companies, just name what happened. What's some bad client experiences you've had? One for me is sitting on waiting for phone calls when you ring up a bank. And you're on for an hour and then you get cut off. That's one of the worst customer experiences that I dislike. But pop it into the chat there. What is a bad client experience you have had? Inconsistent information service, Leonie, great. Grant, broken promises, delayed invoice payments, general lack of responsiveness, excellent. Bindu, helpline that keeps you hanging. Yeah, we would have thought customer service had improved, but it seems to be getting more challenging sometimes. Not as per the commitment, great. Not paying attention, excellent. Lining up for 3 hours or more, then ends up not being accommodated. Yeah, nothing worse than that. So what I want you to do now is you're going to flip the switch. What are some examples of really good client experiences you have had? Shut down upon check-in a hotel because of shift changeover. That's not fun. And you're not listening. Yeah, so we're going to switch it. Leonie, feeling listened to. So these are examples of really good client experiences. Pop them in the chat. Going over and above my expectations. Deanna, do you have something a bit more specific? What may have been? I know when I've been in certain hotels around the world and there's a personalized letter, the towel is made like a swan and there's specific chocolates there, and they've even, I've even had one, they placed a book in there that they thought would be relevant to me, which was quite special, and they were pretty spot on. So they had done their research. Personalized solutions, Bindu, giving time to listen to you, being generous and giving or doing more than I asked for, great. Over-promising, over-delivering. High trust relationships, Grant, great engagement, partner mindset, people going the extra mile, commitment, fulfill, and given above expectations. So when you have those really good client experiences, how does it make you feel? Deanna, someone took your whiteboard away. Not interested in adding value. Okay, great. So how did that make you feel? When you have a really good client experience, how does it make you feel? I want you just to think about that. Maybe how did you feel the first time you walked into a store? Or maybe received a phone call from a company. The first time you received an email from a person or a company. The first time you saw a great social media post. Or even if you did a search on the internet for a company, what did it make you feel? And when you're in those situations, what made you decide to stay or leave? So think about the first time, right? So I want you to consider here your first time. It could be walking into a store, could be receiving a phone call. what was something that happened on that phone call or when you went into that store email that made a decision to stay? All right, so we've got a few here. Appreciated, connected, cared for, special, valued as a person. Okay, these are good. Now I'm going to ask the question, was the decision based on what you observed, what you felt, or what you heard? Was your decision based on felt, observed, or heard? So we've got a couple of felts here. Felt, felt, felt. Anyone got observed or anyone feel more what they heard? So it's how people make you feel. Now, was that decision, so we got I heard there. Now, was your decision to stay based on the company, a human, or the environment, or maybe all of the above? A company, was your decision to stay when your first touch point with them? Was it the company, a human, the environment of that space, or what you were hearing, or all of the above? Okay, humans, human empowered by company, human interaction, value proposition, okay, human connection. So most of what we're getting here is from the human, which is great. And because a lot of people will spend time thinking about the packaging, they'll spend time thinking about, what things look like. Yes, you need really good products and solutions. And yes, the packaging is nice, but it's not going to be the make or break whether someone decides to come and go in most cases. Now, yes, if you've got a faulty product, etc., then people are going to leave you. But in many cases, it's the human. So let's have a look at the top 3 reasons why people leave a client relationship. Okay, so the first one here is relationship. So they're not being treated well. Okay, the second one is expectations. Their expectations are not met. And the third one is relevancy. What is provided isn't relevant. And by the way, if you want to take screenshots, please feel free to do so. I am going to move quite quickly today, especially through the first few slides. So there's the top 3 reasons why people leave. So my question is then, how do we create client experiences that are more memorable, rewarding, and valuable for the clients? To me, and from my experience, it is shifting from a transactional mindset to a relationship mindset. We have to move away from, I have a product or service, you have money or a problem I need to solve, and here is the solution. It needs to go beyond the transaction. And let's kind of put some perspective on this in regards to when we move from the transaction to the relationship. And by the way, the rest of this session is really going to focus on the relationship in regards to creating amazing client experiences. All right, so if we look at a transaction, we have solutions, we have relationship. And the key is to be able to move beyond the transaction solution to the relationship. Transactions are easy. Solutions are relatively easy. But relationships is the challenging part. It takes time, it takes patience. But if you're willing to persist, if you're willing to invest, this is where the long-term gains come. So if we think about transactions as kind of filling a gap in a way, someone has a small gap in their life or a gap in their company, and they need just something to come and fill that gap. The solution is really solving a problem. Okay, so it's something a little bit bigger than just filling a gap. It's now getting to that really solving a problem place. But the relationship goes to that next level where you become the go-to person. When the client needs something, they go, I know, I need to come to you. Grant is the right person. I need to come to Grant, or I need to come to Deanna. But if we think about it in money terms, right? A transaction, say it's $100. If you can move that mindset towards solution selling, that's $1,000 ticket. But if you move to the relationship, it's like 10,000. It's like 100 timesing what a transaction could be. And for those, I'm going to use Pier 1 who are on here, who are a boutique hotel, they will know this. They build the relationship and they get people coming back, and they bring their friends, they bring their events, and next minute it's gone from just being a $300 one night stay to maybe a $30,000 account over the next couple of years. So how can we keep doing that? And the mindset of having a relationship is so key. And so we're going to dive into here around how can we focus on ensuring we can one, attract the client and then retain the client through the human or the collective human interaction. I'm just going to stop sharing. Actually, I think this is important. So in most cases, I will keep going back to a store, keep going back to a product because of the human connection I have. But there are some organizations, there are some businesses that are very, very good. It doesn't matter which person you speak to. I'm going to use Apple as a great example here. The way Apple design their shops as an experience and the way they train their people, it's very rare you'll get a bad experience in those stores. It's very consistent. You know, when you go in, what style of service you're going to get, how they're going to continue to build the relationship with you, the information they store, so they keep coming back to you. So that's a really good example of relationship selling from a collective human interaction. So if you're in a business where you've got multiple people, think about how you can build consistency in the ability to build those relationships from a collective versus an individual. That's absolute key. Now, your number one goal in any conversation, when it comes to working with a client, who thinks they know what it is? Pop in the chat. What's your number one goal in every conversation you have with a prospect or a client? Pop it in the chat. Connection. Okay, good. Building trust. Okay. Service. Anyone else? These are good. They keep thinking about you after the conversation. Andrea, my question back to you is why? Why do they keep thinking about you after the conversation? Why do they keep coming back to you after the conversation? If anyone else knows, pop it in the chat. Reinforce our value. Okay, I'm going to share with you. Make sure they feel understood and their needs are met. Great. Okay, good. Now we're on to it. The number one goal in any conversation is to be more concerned with your client than yourself. You need to be more interested than being interesting. You need to seek to understand before being understood. You may have heard some of these things before. So absolute crucial is to be more concerned with your client than yourself. And that's going to be the key as we go through the remainder of the session. Now, we've got to be able to build trust and rapport with people. So before we go into some specific techniques here, we need to build trust and rapport. And we first must establish that connection people were talking about here. I feel you always need you need to also ensure that your clients feel like that they like you. They know that the work that they do matters to you, and that they find you interesting, if not fascinating. So one, they need to like you. And we hear this a lot. Yeah, people like doing business with people they like. Okay, great. But you need to go beyond that. That's baseline level. You need to go deep into the relationship. You need to show that you care and know that the work that they do matters. You've got to show that. So you need to understand them well. And you need to find them fascinating, interesting, if not fascinating. All right, you need to become that magnet for them. I'm going to use a really good situation a week or so ago. Uncharles on the call here. We had a call with a prospect. I'm not going to say what industry, but let's just say two really big global companies were had just recently merged together. Now, I didn't know this. And we were meeting this person for the first time, works in global talent management. And just before I got on the call, I'm like, I'm just going to research this company. I'm going to Google search it in a different way. And I managed to find out that they'd just done this big merger acquisition. And I'm like, okay, this person works in global talent management. What other skill sets that person has? And so I realized they are also a change coach. I'm like, brilliant. I now asked one question at the beginning of that hour conversation. The person spoke for 20 minutes. We just sat there and listened, because I asked a question around the merger and what their role was and how was that playing out. So I was really interested in that person beyond what we were going to talk about in regards to, how we could potentially support them with learning development. We actually focused on what that person does and really showed we care about what they do. And so for the entire 1 hour, we spoke for maybe 5 minutes of it. That person spoke for 55 minutes. And it was beautiful. And now afterwards, because they're not ready, because they've just gone through a big merger, they're not ready for learning development, but we know they have shared back that they're really keen to do stuff in the future. So that there was really deep understanding of that number one goal. So what I'm going to show you quickly here, and I'm not going to go deep into this because you probably already know this, but you can take screenshots of this. There'll be quite a bit of information on there, but we need to connect with people from a human level. And so here are ways that can really help you in those first interactions, and not only first interactions, but every interaction with prospects and clients. How do you create that amazing client experience? So, small talk, just being able to connect with them, things that are relevant. Be yourself, common and uncommon ground. I will check whether people do cycling or golf, for instance, because they're things that I do. But I'm also trying to find out as much as I can beforehand, or even those first conversations around them, acknowledging, etc. All right, so have you got that one? All right, here's the next page, because there's another one of these as well that goes even a little bit further. Humor, empathy, follow-ups, being decisive, caring, okay? And care is the most important factor here. It is 50% of my job as a CEO, as a coach, as a learning development, working in business development. It is 50% of my role, at least. Okay, so we got that shot. Okay, so we're going to move past building rapport, and we're now going to move into the transactional selling. What is it? Because you need to understand this before we really move into relationship selling. So transactional selling is where you ask questions about a problem that we can solve for the client, and we tell them about our solution. It's just question, find the problem, tell them our solution. But this leads to selling very small things, or selling once only. And we must go beyond that. But the key to relationship selling is not what you're telling them. It's what they feel safe telling you. This is the key. What are they safe telling you that they possibly shouldn't, or that goes beyond the business to the personal, or beyond the business to their personal interaction in their roles and the difficulties they face, or what barriers might be in place to get that service or product over the line in that organization. And you've got to get to that place where you become a confidant in a way. So this is really key. It's what they feel safe telling you. You've got to build permission with them. This is crucial. So let's look at from a relationship selling point of view, how does that kind of work? So we start with establishing a connection. This is on a macro level. We've then got to do deep discovery, and we're going to kind of touch on that before I go into kind of the magic space of relationship selling. We need to create clarity. It is on what we can provide and on understanding their problem that we need to get to, but also clarity on how we can support them, and then continually add value. And this just keeps cycling back. Once you've established the connection, you keep cycling between deep discovery, create clarity, continually add value. Just because you've done a good discovery and got the client on board doesn't mean you stop there. And I see so many people do this, and you've got to continue to come back to this regularly, because things change inside organizations. Things change for that person. They may even change roles. You need to be up with the play. Question for you. What is the most common reason we lose a sale to a potential new client? Would someone like to pop that in the chat? What do you think it is? What is the most common reason we lose a sale to a potential new client? No follow-up? Okay, that's good. That is important. It's not the number one. No trust? Okay, it's close, still not the number one. Do not listen to them, match their needs. Okay, it's close. It's still not number one. I hinted a little bit earlier. Let's have a look. No connection. The number one barrier to selling is most sales are lost because of what we are never told. It's not that they're talking to us, it's we haven't asked the right questions yet to uncover what we really need to know. Give you a quick instance here. Someone come to me and said, we want some help around matrix management in our organization. Okay, that was their problem. Matrix management is not working. Okay, well, and they go, we want a consultant on matrix management. I'm like, look, we can come in, we can help you around matrix management, but it's not going to solve the challenge you're facing. Like, what do you mean? And so I had to keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. And we got to the point where we understood that the issue actually was that they weren't collaborating or communicating together. They were working in silos and working as individuals. They weren't sharing information. Now, and then we were able to provide a solution back to them that actually would help them, which was not based on matrix management. It was actually based on collaboration, communication. So we got to go beyond that. So how do we find out? By researching with the clients, actually getting to that point of knowing that information. All right, so I'm going to go through a couple of these first steps relatively quick. You should pick them up in this case. So let's look at strategy number one when it comes to deep questioning to find this information out. Okay, first here, and this is key, we need to start with the basics. We need to ask questions around situation, the procedures, problem, opportunities. These are baseline questions. What happens though is people find an opportunity, they go, bingo, I've got a solution for you. No, if you go here, you're going to be in transactional space or maybe solutional space. You have to keep digging so you get to the gold, right? So we have to resist that temptation and we've got to stay in discovery mode till you know as much as they do, right? So remember the issue was what they're not telling you. You've got to keep going until you get to knowing as much as they do around that situation. That is absolute key, right? We're not going to go deep on this today. I'd love to, but we're not going to have time. So I'm going to keep moving. The second strategy that is most important in this phase is silence. You have like they're sharing something with you. You've already come in your head. You know an answer. You want to share something. You want to ask another question. Just wait. When people sit in silence, they get uncomfortable. But you need to be comfortable with the silence because that will give them the space to start revealing the things that you normally wouldn't get to hear. So silence is key. Number three, respectful shaping. So you keep shaping the questions until, and from a respectful manner until you start getting the answers out of them. Okay, and that's a little bit more challenging. We're not going to touch that today, but it's a good strategy. Number four, I kind of went on this with an example around the matrix management. So that was the acknowledged problem. I had to keep asking questions to get to that unknown problem of the collaboration and communication issues. We've got to go past the hidden to the unknown problem. And then they go, when you reveal it to them, they go, wow, I didn't realize that, but you're absolutely right. And that is generally the type of response you'll get. So you've got to get to that. All right, so these are great. These are 4 excellent strategies, and you should be using all of these. But here is the next level, and here's next level 1. You need to ask them questions that have them pause and look up before answering. Pause and look up before answering. And why do you do this? Because you're going to help them dream about what is possible. And when you can ask these questions, you help become a co-creator of their future. You're going to help them. It's cool. Seeing some good stuff in the chat there, so thank you. So what are the type of questions we can ask? So here we have a look at these. Questions that help people look up, pause and look upwards and dream. If we can make this happen, how would you like things to be in a year's time? Paint me a picture of your ideal world. What will you be able to do that you can't do now? These are great questions. Exactly what would success look like to you? These are game-changing questions that help people pause and look upwards and dream. Okay, so if you haven't got, what we might do is actually share the slides after the session because there's a lot of them, which don't normally do. All right, so let's go next level 2. All right, so the first one was about pausing and looking upward and dream. But here's the second one. And this sometimes will help you even more. What are those questions that you can ask that will get them to breathe out, exhale, and look downwards before answering? And these here will take your relationship to an even bigger level. So not only do you get into the dream, now you get them to feel like you're by their side. So you're going to help them confide. You're going to become a trusted confidant. These questions look like this. Tell me the worst that happens. How has this affected you? Or describe your day when this problem comes up. Exactly how bad does it get? All right, so these are when you're diving deep into these questions. This will help you take a relationship to the completely next level. Now, when it comes to amazing client experiences, we've talked about going from the solution to the relationship. We've got to get to that point where they're telling you things that you normally wouldn't get to hear. They feel confident and they trust you to go to that next level. That is when you start to hit those amazing client experiences. And you can't just do it once. You've got to do it multiple times. But remember, your number one goal when it comes to any conversation and creating amazing client experiences is to always be more concerned with your client than yourself. Well done, everyone. It's been a big, deep session. You may want to watch the recording back and look at the slides again because we've covered quite a lot in that masterclass, but thank you for your time. I look forward to hearing from you around how you might be applying these and what are some ways that you create amazing client experiences.